another day. And if you still hate it after that day, you give it another day. And you keep going like that forever. That's what working is.
Do you even have a resume?
No, but I have a report card that'll knock your socks off.
I'm promoting you to manager.
Oh, Mr. Strickland, I love you.
Hello, Lindy.
Hi, Marissa.
We just got done listening to some anime intros and outros. Sorry, they're stuck in our heads. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the RIVERHAWK Hired Podcast. Whoa, whoa. That's the anime intro for ours.
No.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about something that you may not even know how to tackle.
Yeah.
Workplace accommodations.
Yes.
So we're going to talk a little bit about understanding your rights and the responsibilities under the Americans with Disabilities Act, otherwise known as the ADA. We're going to be talking about the ADA a lot, so that's what that means if you hear that. And it's really important that you guys understand what your rights are, because they're your rights.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry.
One thing I will note, so I actually found this out at lunch and I was like, I have to save this for this podcast.
Okay.
So we are, the release of this episode will not be during the month of July, but we are currently recording during the month of July, and it is Disability Pride Month this month. And that is a international Pride Month. It's celebrated worldwide. So I wanted to make sure that we noted that because it's July when we're recording this, and I just felt like that was very appropriate for our workplace accommodations.
It really is.
So
I love that it's international too.
Yeah.
Because it really is. It's a global thing. Everyone who wants to have a cozy place to work deserves a cozy place to work.
Absolutely.
So, under Title I of the ADA, a reasonable accommodation is some kind of modification or adjustment to a job, the work environment, or the way tasks are typically performed. And this helps enable people with disabilities to have equal opportunities in that hiring process.
Yep.
Because But it just makes sure that everyone gets to enjoy the same kind of work life, the same benefits and privileges as those without disabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's cool. One of the articles said that workplace accommodation should be seen as productivity enhancers.
Period.
Love that.
I mean, that's
because
all
that's
it really
what it
is.
Yep.
That's what it is. So what is what is a reasonable accommodation? What's an accommodation in general? Those can range from, physical changes like including ramps it talks about, modifying restrooms. It could even be something like accessible or assistive technologies that help you if you have, an office job, something that can help you operate your computer easier, to hear the audio on your computer easier, all those kinds of things. What are some other ones that you can think of?
Job or schedule modifying.
Yeah.
So if you need a specific schedule for certain things, providing a reader or an interpreter, that also is something. Modifying training materials or even policies.
Yes. I saw one that was making materials available in Braille.
Yes.
Is super helpful. Because you don't want to be caught without having something for this new hire that is awesome and we're so excited to bring into the team, and they're raring to go and we're raring to get them in, and it's oh, you don't have it in Braille? So you need to make sure that you think of those things as an employer, just to ensure that you are able to service every rock star that comes onto your team.
Period.
It's also important to note that those accommodations are not just, special treatment, because sometimes people can look at it negatively and think, oh, well, it can be things not just the stereotypical things that we think of, the ramps or modifying restrooms, things like that. These things can in fact benefit all employees. For instance, ergonomic workstations, accessible facilities can improve productivity and comfort for everyone, because you never know whenever you yourself are going to need to use some of these things, such as a ramp or a screen reader or things like that. You just never know. And so just making sure that your workplace already has those is really good. So that way you never have to worry. God forbid something happen, your world can keep on going. And that's all that these accommodations are trying to do for those with disabilities.
Yeah. And I would say one of the things that you can definitely do to like help yourself in that in getting these accommodations is when you are going through that hiring process, being upfront about needing those accommodations.
Always be upfront with it.
Yeah.
I'd say as soon as you would you say as soon as you talk to a recruiter or as soon as you do the first interview? What would you suggest?
Well, I mean, if you are just talking to recruiters and maybe you're at a networking event, it does not hurt to ask them what types of accommodations they can offer for people with disabilities. Absolutely. But definitely if it's in your interview or like especially if they offer you the position. But I definitely recommend being upfront in the beginning. Because it's better to disclose that information now so they can start making those accommodations. Because if you really are bringing a lot to the table, they will make those accommodations, and they should make those accommodations regardless.
100%. According to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, also known as the EEOC, that's how I kept saying it in my head this entire time we were reading these articles. It all starts with, like Lindy said, disclosing that disability to your employer. This disclosure could include how your disability affects your job performance. From there, with that conversation with them, it really helps your employer determine the best possible accommodations. And remember that this process is meant to be collaborative with your employer, but also confidential.
Yes.
Right? They really don't need to be out there, because overall it's about your health. And everyone deserves that right of having private health.
Absolutely.
Private health.
Accommodations.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Says under the Americans with Disability Act, employers who have 15 or more employees are usually required to provide reasonable accommodations. Some state and local laws may require that employers with fewer employees provide reasonable accommodations, but that will vary.
Gotcha.
But I mean, it's good to know that too, especially if you are applying to like a Fortune 500 company. Those companies that are like really big, they should be absolutely.
Or in the event, we'll kind of dive into what if your accommodation request is denied, right? Knowing your rights is really important, because sometimes employers themselves may not be educated on, what the ADA has to recommend, what the EEOC has to recommend. And so if you find yourself in that, we hope that none of our RIVERHAWKs ever do find themselves in a situation where the accommodation request is being denied. But if that is a thing for you in your journey, first, ask for an explanation, right?
Yeah.
You want to understand why your request is being denied, and it can help you address any kind of gaps in information, or explore alternative solutions with that employer. I know people personally who have had employers who were uneducated on how to accommodate for employees with disabilities, and in their experience, they had to butt heads with their employer. And that kind of stinks, especially if you are if it's like during your onboarding process and you're asking for something that's as simple as maybe some handrails in a restroom or something like that. Because for you, it is imperative to how you operate in your daily life. And so it's like kind of weird, and it can take you aback if it's, a fight to have something like that for you at your workplace.
Yeah. And always feel like, I feel like you should always, like, if for some reason they aren't giving you the accommodations that you want, file a formal complaint.
Yes. It says, if needed, consider appealing and look through your employer's formal appeal process. Make sure that you've talked to HR about that and seek support from advocacy or legal services. It mentioned a really cool resource that I'd like to name drop. There's an organization called the Job Accommodations Network, and it can provide free expert guidance on workplace accommodations. So it's also known as Jan.
Sure, Jan.
Sure, Jan. And it's a good place to help hook you up with all the tools that you need to go forward and fight for your right to have accommodations.
Absolutely. And if you do get those accommodations, one of the things that one of the article's notes that I really like is document dates, actions taken, and adjustments made to assure continued success.
Yeah, I like that because really they could just see it as like install one ramp, one and done, when actually it's an evolving process. There's maintenance, upkeep, new items that come out that keep your accommodations up to date with the changing times. It doesn't always have to be something crazy. I think that it's really important for all places to make sure that they're accessible because you never know. Someday it could be you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would want to make sure that my life could keep rocking and rolling and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it says interactive accommodation process should be ongoing, always ongoing, constant communication with those things, and making sure that those accommodations are working in the proper way that you need them to.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest takeaway with all of this is just kind of understanding your rights, getting that proper documentation, providing those things up front, making sure that you're keeping your employer accountable for staying on top of things. I would say that those are all really, really good things. I do want to give like some actual like websites that you can visit just so we have those resources that they can visit if need be. So we've talked about the ADA National Network. So if you want to learn more information, you can always go to adata.org. You talked about the Job Accommodation Network or JAN. Their website is askjan.org. Love that.
That's awesome.
And then the EEOC, right? If you are looking for information, you can go to eeoc.gov.
Period. That means it's federal. What are they going to do? They're going to fight the federal website? They wouldn't. Because it's your right legally. It is your right legally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you find yourself in a situation where maybe you need to, draft up something, maybe you just run something by somebody because it's like, maybe this doesn't seem right. You're always welcome to come and talk to a career counselor and just kind of bounce some of those things that are going on off them just to kind of use them as a sounding board. Sometimes it's easy to second guess ourselves, especially if you're in the instance of getting denied. Sometimes it's really easy to gaslight yourself and be like, oh, yeah, sorry. I guess I don't need to reach the second floor. Make sure that you aren't, just letting it be. Fight for your right. And we're here to help however we can. There's not a super ton that we can do, but we do have our awesome friend Marcy Mitchum on campus who helps make sure that campus stays ADA compliant. So if you're a student and you need some resources on campus, let me pull up her information real quick.
Yeah, absolutely, because she absolutely can help you with getting proper accommodations, especially here on campus.
Yes. So she is the Senior Coordinator of Student Disability Services, and she is actually located in Lozier. So for a lot of you listeners, she's going to be just a
hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah. I was trying to think of what it was. I was like, through the river and to the wood. I don't know.
Same thing.
But she's going to be in Lozier Complex 112. So I'm assuming that's near Hawkridge?
I think so.
Yeah. So if you don't know where to go in Lozier, you can always stop in at the housing office, the front desk. They're super nice, and they're always great at pointing you in the right direction because it's called the Lozier Complex for a reason. It's a bit complex to know where you're going. So
I love that.
But yeah, hit up Marcy if you are a student who needs any kind of accommodations, or if you have any kind of requests about things on campus regarding your rights as a person with disabilities.
For sure, for sure.
All right, guys, stay strong. Let us know how we can help.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Tell us what your greatest strength is.
My greatest strength, I guess, would be strength.
Is that woman your wife?
Don't be asking me personal questions.
I can't give you this position.
What? I crushed the interview.